where we discuss all things of Earth and outer space, where we divine to pass the time, and no one can put us down or in our place. Grab your tea leaves or your spirits and gather around. The embers are glowing, warm flames abound. The Hallowed Hearth welcomes you now.
Hello and happy Thursday, our fellow Hearth Keepers. We've got lots of folks already in the chat. Heidi, Melinda, Holly, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being with us again. As ever, I am joined by my spooky sisters, Haley Hansen. Hello, my beautiful girl.
Gorgeous.
And Rachel Ravensvale. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, hello. So we have been working this month with our Cryptid Women's Society International Series. And we have with us tonight a lady who is going to take us right back into the cryptid of Cryptid Women's Society and talk to us all about the Appalachian stories, folklore, and all the wonderfulness that lives there. Lacey Williams. Hello, Lacey.
Hello.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me back on. It was so fun last time.
Yes, we love having all of our cryptid women here, and you have some interesting tales for us tonight.
Well, yeah, I mean, to me, it's just, another day. Like, it's just normal stuff here. But I guess to people outside of the area, we have a lot of folkloric creatures and lore here that are pretty interesting.
Absolutely. Before we get started with all of that, because that's going to just chock us full of tales and spookiness tonight, we're going to go again with our Crow Wisdom Oracle deck.
Oh, I love that one.
I know, it's so pretty. So Lacey, if you will just tell me when to stop shuffling, and we'll see what the oracles have for us tonight. And we are just flying.
Okay, stop.
Okay. Ooh, the weight of words.
Oh.
Okay.
Ooh, dun.
Yes, a spoken vow or repeated story now carries tangible power. Choose your narrative with care.
Okay.
Ooh, very nice.
Yeah, but we talk a lot about speaking things into existence and putting things out into the universe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And the power that carries, even if it's just what we say to ourselves in the mirror.
Yeah. It makes a huge difference.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely.
So I guess that's what we need to carry with us this week and make sure we're only speaking good things for ourselves.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So let's jump in real quick. If you could speak one cryptid into existence that you can meet like this week, which one would it be?
Oh, man. Does it have to be from Appalachia or can it be from anywhere?
Anywhere.
Loch Ness Monster.
Yes. I love
The-
Nessie so much.
Yeah, Nessie's my fave. And like, I want her to be out there.
Yes. Absolutely. And I think she would chill. Like, I think when you actually encounter her face to face, I think she'd be like, yeah, hop on and we're going to go take a stroll through the loch.
There's a movie, like isn't there a kids movie? I can't
Yes,
remember what it's called now. What is it?
Water horse.
Yeah, Water Horse.
Oh, good. There's a
Speaking of kids cryptid movies, have you seen Chupa?
Yes.
No. Where is that
That
at?
one is on Netflix, I think. It is so cute, and it is the cutest thing ever. And now I have to have a baby chupacabra. We watched that last spring when it came out, and my son would have been like maybe 9 at the time, and he cried within 5 minutes. Like, it was,
Aw.
like, it's so good. You gotta watch it.
Yeah, it's set in Mexico about a family that finds a baby chupacabra. It's so cute. Oh my god.
So cute.
I love that these things are becoming more mainstream now. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Water
So
Horse.
cute.
That came out when I was like 14.
That's
maybe.
old.
Yeah, it was an older one.
Yeah, it's old.
It's not that old, Lacey. Shh.
I was like, does that make you feel old?
But yeah,
I don't actually remember it coming out. I just know that it's an older movie. I don't think I saw it until years after it came out.
They had there's some cool lore that they had tied into it. I like the way they handled it, and there's definitely the baby Loch Ness monster, and I'm like, oh my god, yes, this is
Yeah.
ever. And that's all I'm going to say about it, because everyone needs to go watch it.
Everyone should go watch it. Both of them, and report back.
Yes.
Yes.
Water Horse and Chupa.
Chupa.
Yeah.
So what is your then like leading theory on Nessie? Is it like a family of them? Because like if you're thinking it's lived for,
A while.
hundreds
So
of years, thousands of years, like millions of years, if we really think it's a plesiosaur or something like that, like I'm wondering like what your thoughts are on it.
So I have two like train of thought, and I almost like hold them both to be true at the same time. One is more rooted in what I think might be realistic, and one is what I want to be true and what I choose to believe because it hurts nothing with no scientific backed evidence at all. And so I think that realistically it is a species that lives in the ocean and comes into the loch to mate. And that's why we don't see it all the time. Like they've done the DNA and tested the water, and there's a lot of eels, there's a lot of things that we know, but they also came up with DNA of species that we don't know what they are. So I think it's possible that, and it may not be still out there. It may have been whatever it was, might have gone extinct by now, but I think that there was something there at some point.
Yeah.
What I want to be true. Are you familiar with the Outlander series?
I've heard of it, but I haven't watched it.
Oh god.
Have you read the book?
Talking about it's
They're pretty close, the movies and the books, but like the details that get left out of the show that in the movies. And in the first book, she talks about how she goes into the stone circle and gets sucked back into like 1700s Scotland, and she at one point they're at Loch Ness and she's standing there and she's looking out at the loch, and the thing comes up out of the water and makes eye contact with her, and it's a plesiosaur. And she's like, well, this didn't always used to be a loch. Like there would, at some point there might not have been water here. If there's stone circles all over, what if there's a stone circle in the bottom of the loch, and this is a dinosaur that like swims into this stone circle and gets time traveled out? And I was like, this is it. It's a time traveling dinosaur, and forevermore. Yes, that was my theory.
Yeah.
It hurts no one and nothing for me to believe that it is a time traveling dinosaur.
Hell yeah.
I can get on board with that.
Kind of like with Skinwalker Ranch lore too. They've got a lot of time traveling dinosaur things. So I think that people need to take a second and give it some credence, because there be some.
I mean, if there's one, why can't there be another?
Exactly. And like you said, it's not hurting anyone.
No, there's no one.
If someone gets eaten by the Loch Ness monster, now then we have to reevaluate the whole situation.
If someone gets eaten by it, then we know it's out there.
Exactly. Someone needs to be a sacrifice.
I was going to say sacrifice.
We know it's not a plesiosaur.
Watch you, Katy. No.
If I got to go out, if I've got to go out in a weird way, I volunteer. I'll go out that way to be eaten by the Loch Ness monster.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh no, a trip to Scotland. Put me in a lock. See what happens. Oh no.
And to watch a bad person get eaten by the Loch Ness monster. That's what we're signing up for. No one on the screen is allowed to get eaten, please.
I will volunteer as tribute as long as no one like hunts Nessie down and kills her after that. Like, I don't want to be the downfall of Nessie.
Yeah, we don't want that at all, because like that's the first thing people want to do. Is like kill
Have you seen the new the reboot of Anaconda?
Yes. Oh my god.
Okay. It's so hysterical. It is so much funnier than I expected it to be, for one. But I was so bummed out in the end. I mean, this is not really a spoiler because the original movie came out like 25 years ago,
Right.
but you know, they killed the snake in the end. And we were walking out and I was with my kids and they were talking about it. And I was like, I feel weird. Like, I feel weird about this movie. And they were like, why? And I said, I mean, it was really funny, but I feel a little bit bummed out that they blew the snake up in the end because all I could think of is this is what would really happen. Like, if we dropped into the middle of the rainforest that humans had not inhabited and this creature had been living since dinosaur time, unbothered and thriving, and we just dropped into the middle of its living room, and it's the size to us as a regular snake is to a mouse. And so, you know, snake's gonna snake and it's just trying to eat dinner, and now we come into its living room and then blow it up. And I was really bummed out. I was like, because this is just what would really happen.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That's the sad part. Like, as human beings, what not all of us want to do, but a lot of us are like, yeah, we need to have the remains to prove that it's real. And it's like, no, you don't.
No, exactly. There's no reason
I mean,
can't live in captivity while you do some testing, then let it go back out to where it came from. There's no reason that can't happen.
Just put a tracker on it or something, you know, like even like we don't even need to have it in captivity.
Exactly. You don't need to disrupt the ecosystem to prove.
And honestly, do we even need to know? Like, do we need to even like just knowing it exists? Like, do we need to study it? Do we need to like? There's lots of animals that we know exist that we don't have a lot of data, like the giant squid. You know, like the only thing we know about them is because we found like the carcasses that we've gotten. Like, it doesn't hurt us to not know everything about them.
Yeah. And the bottom line, like the big argument is that if you have the scientific proof of a body, is that then you can provide resources to protect them. But I mean, like, we look at the world as it is right now. We know that there are species that are in danger right now. We're doing nothing to protect them whatsoever.
Exactly.
Like, just one is sensational does not mean that anyone who's in charge of anything is going to go out of their way to make sure that it's safe. In fact,
I think more people would try to hunt them.
Yeah, exactly. Ew. Like, no, just let our enigmatic friends be hidden in the forest, happy on their own without us this whole time.
If they wanted to be around us, they would have by now.
Exactly.
Exactly. Maybe they're just avoiding us for a reason.
We
all know the compulsion, so
like, so I can't blame them.
You know how those human beings are, huh?
Yeah.
Gosh.
Like Finding Nemo, like when they're in the water and the scuba divers come and they're like, that's like probably what they're all thinking with us.
Like, what are these hideous monsters and why are they bugging me?
Yeah, like truthfully, they might be more scared of us than we are them, right?
That'd be valid, yeah.
That's fair.
I've met some people.
That's a fair feeling.
We
are not good as a race. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So, but when we were talking about Appalachian cryptids, so which creature do you find that's like most compelling, like through history, and why?
Like as it might exist, like be most likely to exist.
Yeah, kind of the most compelling has like the most compelling history to it, and they exist.
Well, I actually personally, I really like. I really am interested in the great horned serpents, the Ohio River monsters, and I think that if I was going to choose one cryptid to say for definitively had existed at some point, that's the one that I'm putting my vote in. Like, I think that they definitely existed. I think that because in I just forgot the word, not pioneers, but like explorers that were, you know, out there like mapping and making maps, the cartographers and the explorers that were going through the region, like they would talk about seeing them, and they would talk about the locals talking about them, about seeing them, and they weren't talking about them as if they were monsters. They were just like, yeah, they were here when we got here. They don't bother us. We don't bother them. They stay in the water. And they're just a thing that exists here. And it wasn't like even when they were being documented by the explorers, they weren't documenting them as monsters. They were just talking about all the animals, all the flora and the fauna. And they were like, you know, there's these great horned serpents that are in the water. And then as Industrial Revolution started, the sightings got, and like, because where we live, it is extremely polluted. The Ohio River is repeatedly voted the most, and when it's not the most, it's in like the top 3 most polluted rivers in the country, which is a huge change, because when Thomas Jefferson was coming through and exploring, and he came through the region, he wrote back that it was the most clear and beautiful river he had ever seen. And now it is, I mean, it's the color of mud all the time, and it is so polluted that you do not want to touch that water. And because this area, since Industrial Revolution, has just been ravaged by resources, like between the coal mines and the coke plants and the steel mills and the paper mills and the oil refineries, like our resources have been so exploited here and just left for dead. And so a lot of the local animals that had existed either were driven out or were driven to extinction. And so I think that that's what happened as they started to dwindle down. There were reports every now and then, and that's when they started getting more noticed, because by that point they weren't normal anymore. So people started noticing them, and it was no longer, oh yeah, they were here before when we got here, they don't bother us. Now it's, oh, there's a monster, because they hadn't been seen for so long that people kind of forgot about them or thought they never existed. And then they started, every now and then there would be a report. There was one report like that was in the newspapers back in, I can't quote the year, I would be completely making it up, but in early newspaper days, a village, these 2 people in a village saw one swimming down a tributary. I think it was the Miami River that connects to the Ohio. And they started chasing it and following it down the river. And they got like into the more crowded part of town. And there were other people in there, like, and the newspaper said 1,000 villagers. That feels like a lot of villagers for a time, that time to be in this rural area. But the newspaper said 1,000 villagers saw it. They all chased it down the riverbank with pitchforks and fire, because they were going to try and kill it if it came out. But then it just kept going down the river, and eventually it hit the Ohio and went under and swam off. And then a few years later in that same area, somebody else reported seeing it, and they chased it into an underground cave that the people couldn't get to. And so there's been lots of stories like that where multiple people saw it, and all up and down the Ohio, but pretty close to me, like within 30 minutes up and down. And they all reported the same thing. They reported seeing this like serpentine-like animal with black glossy scales and like a greasy, oily-looking black mane. It had an elongated face. Somebody said like a seahorse. Somebody said like a seagull, but like an elongated, almost like equestrian face and equine face. I'm not sure what the right phrasing of that would be, but and then one man who was walking over a bridge when it swam under, he said that it made a sound like a bellow, like a cow, and not a moo, but just like a bellow, and then a hiss, and then it went under. And to me, that kind of sounds like like when a sea creature, like a manatee or something, comes up out of the water and kind of like blows that. And that's what it sounds kind of like that. And then there was some other fishermen who were out night, like on the river at night, that reported it just came, like they saw the hump of it come back up and bump into their boat. And so there's been so many casual sightings of it, and none of them are aggressive, except for there is one story that may or may not be even the same thing. I don't think it is. Of a woman who was attacked by something and pulled under, and her friend, and there were children there that all said they witnessed it. They were swimming. Something grabbed her with claws, and she said she could feel the like fingertips and claws of it, and it yanked her in and drug her across the water. And every time she would kick and fight and get away, like 3 times, it grabbed her and yanked her back in. And supposedly everybody else there that saw it, she finally just kicked and fought hard enough that she got loose, and she got to shore, and they helped her out. And she had a green handprint with like gash marks on her leg, and they got I think it was before, it was way before 911, but they got somebody there, like a doctor there to help her, and they cleaned her up and patched her up, and they reported that she did have these cuts and she did have these scrapes, but that they couldn't get the green handprint to go away, and it was there for 2 days. And so when you're reading about the Ohio River Monster, that always comes up because it did come out of the river. It is a monster, but it doesn't have any of the similar characteristics. Like all the other reportings of the serpents, like, were serpents. They weren't creature from the Black Lagoon type things. And that did happen. That encounter did happen at like the height of the old monster movies. And so there was a theory that maybe it was a folie à deux, like something was under the water, something got her. And like maybe it really was an animal or something, did grab her. Or maybe she got tangled in an underwater tree, or, that doesn't explain the green handprint. And the paramedic or the doctor did say that they saw that, and it didn't go away for 2 days. There is another interesting, like, side theory that ties in another cryptid to that, of a mud mermaid. Mm-hmm. And like that maybe that creature was a mud mermaid. And which is another like old time, like super old cryptid story that you really don't hear like ever anymore, that was also said to have been driven out of the area or out into extinction. So who knows? But I do think the green horde serpents have the most plausible storyline that they probably also, where we live, where I live, there are these massive serpent effigies that are still here. There's one here in my county that is it's on private property, so there's never been like really formal documentation of it. You can't even find like a picture from the aerial, but it's made out of stone, and it's an effigy serpent, and I think it's like maybe, I don't know, maybe like a 1/4 mile long or something. Maybe not quite that long. It might be way shorter than that. I might just made that number up, but it's big. It's a huge, like you really can't tell except for looking at it aerially that it's the shape of a serpent. Like 40 minutes up the road in Peebles, Ohio, is the largest remaining serpent effigy in the world, and it's called Great Serpent Mound, and it's, if you Google it, the pictures are really cool. I've been there. From the ground, you can't tell it's a snake, but from the aerial, like it's a snake and then it gets to the end and it's like curling up and eating an orb of some, and it lines perfectly with the seasonal lunar eclipses, and so there's a lot of like serpent, indigenous, tie-ins that still are here. So like there, and all of we had a lot of different indigenous cultures within the area. Like we have the Shawnee, the Hopi, the Cherokee, the there's so many, the Lenape, and like they all had their own stories of these great serpents. And so I think that personally, I think that also is just like backs up this thing that these things existed, and that they respected them, and they one of the, I can't remember off the top of my head which of the cultures it was, but one of them had a story about how they were the gatekeepers of the underworld, and that they all had their own lore about them, but they all acknowledged that they existed. So I think that there's a lot of credibility to that story that they were here.
And that sort of ties into, like, if you look at like Mayan and Aztec and Inca, and they all revere sort of serpentine snake, beings.
Yeah.
Said they came from other worlds, and
I was just going to say that they have the extraterrestrial tie into I'm Lena Lenape, and my people definitely believe in the star people bringing the start of humanity, essentially. But when you look into the cultural crossover as far as serpents goes, it's the whole globe. Between dragons,
well, it's like Sasquatch.
It's everyone.
Dragons.
Sasquatch, yeah, absolutely. Like these things that people squash so haphazardly are so ingrained in the human psyche from the people who have lived in this place longer than anyone else that it's pretty much disrespectful, in my opinion, to discount things so quickly.
I Also, I think that's a downside of like the internet and things like it's made us so well informed compared to generations previously that we just, I think, take for granted and that we know everything, or that if it's not on the internet, it's not true, it doesn't exist. And it's hard for people to accept that there was a time where there wasn't a way to formally document things. You documented it by telling the stories and repeating the stories, and I think it's hard for people to grasp that.
And it's almost like should be in like our DNA that's ancestral, that gets passed down. Like it is very much like the stories were.
I feel
the
like
stories were
in
passed
touch
down.
with their ancestral backgrounds have a more natural ability to accept some of these things that feel like they're foreign, but that you have a deep knowing that may be true or that are true. And it's really, it's kind of a shame because, like you mentioned, we have such access to everything as far as the internet goes. But the downside to that too is that it feels all encompassing, but it's not. The indigenous cultures are so protective of themselves and their own culture that they're not included in a lot of DNA tests. They're not included in a lot of databases. They're not included in a lot of just things that you can access easily. Like if you want to look up your Irish ancestry, that's a whole lot easier than if you want to look up anything as far as the indigenous peoples go. And you can't blame them. They want to protect it because we haven't earned their trust. And I totally respect that. But it's very true that there's a lot of information that people grab onto because it's what's readily available. And just the absence of the information does not mean that it's not true, because there are things that are protected from people who are not willing to accept it or open or even safe to consume that kind of knowledge. So I have so much respect for the indigenous cultures, and it's so true that there's so much that just gets like it's not even a consideration because it's indigenous, but we don't have any information.
Or because it sounds too fantastical for people to believe. But why? Why is it hard to believe that a giant, and I say giant, but we're talking like, I mean, the ones that were reported back, and by then I think they would have been smaller. Like as more people came into the area, I think they would have already gotten smaller. But I mean, they're talking 10, 12 feet. And like that's giant when you compare it to a garter snake, but it's when things get big in the water. And like we even catfish here, we have catfish that weigh hundreds and hundreds of pounds.
Yeah.
And so I think 360 pounds was the largest catfish that came out of there. And then there's garfish, and there are some massive things in the river. So why is it hard to believe that this snake would have been there? Snakes gravitate towards water. We have all kinds of water snakes. It's hard to believe.
Like
we have goldfish in our park that are huge, like because they have a pond there, and
it will grow to the container.
Why is it unlimited?
So if the container is unlimited, then why wouldn't their size be Leviathan-like? Geez, like the things that people have said for thousands of years, why are they any less reputable than a modern retelling that you didn't happen to have your cell phone with you?
Right? Just because nobody recorded it, nobody caught it, doesn't mean. And by the time that newspapers were a thing, that these stories were getting reported of, oh, we saw a monster, compared to generations before that were already there. They were like, oh yeah, those were here when we got here, and they don't bother us. We just stay away from them.
Exactly.
Once people came in and colonizers came in and started running them out, they were already endangered by then, or they were they had moved out of the area. So it's not that unusual that by now, if they were already endangered then in the 1700s, why do we expect not every, of all the species on Earth, like less than 1.01% of living things on Earth become a fossil, because you have to have just the right
conditions,
just the right factors and conditions to create a fossil. So it's not everything that has ever existed is going to be in a fossil. We're not just going to come across that. And so like just same thing with like Sasquatch, when people are like, where's the body, show me the body. Well, I know there's a lot of Sasquatch theories, and I don't know if you talked to Lisa about Sasquatch, But Lisa, she's on the train of the interdimensional being with Sasquatch, whereas I fall on the primate train. But I also think that if there are any still out there, and there might be, I just think they're extremely critically endangered and live in very rural places where humans just aren't welcome to be, but I do think that they did exist. I think that we have had too many stories all over the world for thousands and thousands. I mean, they were carving them into rock faces. And that's not the same as just picking up a crayon and a piece of scrap paper. Like, that took artistry and time and skill, and they wanted to leave that record behind.
Yeah, when you could be hunted, right?
Like
plenty of other things.
So many things that they needed to do to stay alive, and they took that time to create that record, and that was their internet. That was how they documented things.
Yeah, that was way more intentional. That was like, I'm going to make sure this lasts so that people.
And I want people to know about this thing. Yeah. And so, I think there is and people say, well, where's the body? Well, we don't know, first off, how long those things have been extinct or been this endangered. Like, they may still be out there in, the Amazon or wherever. But, in Appalachia, some people think they still exist. Some people still swear up and down they see them, and maybe they do. But they're critically endangered if they're here. Mm-hmm. And so you're not gonna, we know bears exist. How many, if you've been to the Smoky Mountains, chances are you've seen a bear. How many bear skeletons have you come across? Like the
thing you mentioned with fossils, like the average span of decomp, as gross as it is to talk about,
especially in somewhere like this, where it's hot and humid and.
Yeah, I live in the forest. Things have died near my property within a week. They're gone. Doesn't matter what the size they are. They either get eaten, they get picked apart, or
nature does a good job of getting rid of it.
Yeah, it gets put back into the earth. That's what it's designed to do. So these rare circumstances where something is left behind is the outlier. It's more rare to find those than it is to find things.
Even deer, we live in the woods too, and we do come across deer fairly often. But when you compare it to how many live deer I see on a daily basis, the number is minute.
Exactly.
And so if they're an endangered species, chances are you're not going to come across their body. And if they live deep in the woods, chances are you're not going to come across their remains. And the other thing is, people will say, well, where are the baby Bigfoots? Nobody ever says they see it. Well, that's not really true. There are reports of people seeing juveniles. Yeah. But also, if they are an intelligent creature that is somewhere between, a chimp and a human, if they are that missing link, then they understand danger. They understand they're more likely to not want to bring their children to a place that could be dangerous. And also, in the animal kingdom, predators that exist, more than not, don't live to adulthood. More predators die in youth than make it to adulthood. And if they're already few in numbers, they're not reproducing that quickly, and there's a good chance that if they're mammals, well, and they're a primate, they're not a golden retriever having 15 babies. Yeah. They maybe are having 1 or 2 at most. Like, they're not reproducing super fast, and if they survive at all, they're probably going to keep them away from the people that are trying to kill them.
Right. If they have a small population, when that population, that reduces their chances of breeding that frequently with a smaller population, especially.
And you'd have to think of gestation period too. An elephant takes 2 years for a baby to be born. If they're proportionally are that much larger than we are, then they're going to take even more precautions to protect their children, their offspring, because it's taken that much longer for them to repopulate, especially with the dangers that they come across by engaging with us at all. So it just seems like duh to me.
People also say that nobody has any clear pictures of them, but since the internet, the reports have been more hoaxes. But the thing is, also with the internet came digital equipment, digital cameras, digital phones. We're not talking analog cameras anymore. And my dogs, I have 3 golden retrievers, and they are the dumbest animals on the planet. They're lovable, but they are dumb as bricks. And when we first got cows here, one of my dogs, she kept getting closer and closer, wanting to get into the cows. She got tangled up in the electric fence.
Oh,
I don't know how she did it, but she jumped in, tried to jump over the fence, landed on the fence, tried to turn around and come back, and got her leg looped in the fence. So then I'm over there with her screaming, and I'm trying to like unlatch the fence to get her leg out. It was a whole mess. From then on, the second the electric fence kicked on, she would freak out and she would bark. And I think we decided that she associated her near-death experience with the cows. She didn't understand the fence, but she could hear the frequency or feel the frequency of the fence when it kicked on. Mm-hmm. And so animals can sense electromagnetic fields. Maybe not all animals, but if it's an animal with heightened senses and they have existed in the forest this long and they have survived without with evading us for so long, chances are their senses are heightened, especially because they're out there living in the dark. And so there's a good possibility they can hear those trail cameras, they can feel those electric fences, they can hear your cell phone, they can remember back in the day, like when you had the old Nokia, right before it would ring and your speakers would start to like make that pop and crack noise. And you would always know your phone was going to ring before it rang. Like they can probably hear that stuff. And so it's not that weird that as technology advances, these credible sightings are going down. And these things aren't being documented anymore because everything is digital now.
Do you think that also like infrasound and them being potentially sensitive to that as well? That might be another thing that, we can't necessarily hear like they may be able to hear.
It's funny, so I told you all earlier before we were filming that my house is somewhere between a mammal's house and a 1982 Pizza Hut dining room. I have in my living room downstairs like an old wooden box TV that I just plugged a Roku in. So like I can watch TV like normal, but it's a wooden like mammal's box floor TV. My 13-year-old, every time he comes in the room, if that TV's on, he's like, I don't know how you watch this TV. That sound is driving me insane. And I was like, what sound? He was like, there's a high-pitched whining, like screaming. And I was like, I hear nothing. I don't know what you're talking about. And so like, his ears are so sensitive to sound in general, but like he can hear, and I think that's an age thing too. I think they say that like
an age thing.
but I mean, if within our own species, there are variants in what we can hear and what we can see, then like we don't know what we don't know. And if we can't prove these things don't exist unless we can prove that they do. And so it's just speculation, but it's entirely possible if you just go on what we know about the animal kingdom. Like we know animals in the water get really big. We know that, primates are maternal and like take care of, we know all of these things. So like all these things could be possible. And that's why I lean towards the primate theory with a Sasquatch versus an interdimensional being, not because I don't think there aren't other dimensions or extraterrestrials. It's because those ideas are so big my brain can't conceptualize them. Like my brain can't fathom that. But I do understand, where primates exist in the ecosystem and like water animals. And so if you look at it from like, well, we know that there is an animal that can do XYZ already. We know that there's this animal that can do XYZ. And so it's not out of the realm of possibility that there's another animal that can do this or that can have this feature.
Lisa,
so yeah,
there's stuffed for sure. I was like, whoa. We were talking about the body of proof. Before, yes, no. That's totally on me. I misread that entirely. But yes. Absolutely.
Yeah,
no, there's such cool creatures out there, and we definitely don't give them enough credit for their innate, extraordinary abilities that would otherwise seem supernatural if they were present in humans. My mom said oarfish get huge. Yes, absolutely. And then
they're so scary. They look like straight up dinosaurs.
They are freaky. They are really
even in 2026. If knowing that those things exist, knowing those are in there, if I saw one of those come up again, like if I was on a boat and then one swam up beside me, I would pee myself.
Right? No, they're the immediate no.
It is none of my business. None of my business.
And then Linda was asking about the Jersey Devil. Jersey Devil's in my neck of the woods, not more southern than Appalachia, but that's a really fun story, and I'll have to tell you about that because he's my cousin. Related.
Now, neither one of us wore Jersey Devils last time. We were both in Jersey Devils stuff that day.
Right? I was wearing my Jersey Devil shirt earlier this week, and I've been popping out a couple extra Jersey Devils for a festival I'm doing this weekend. It's such fun stories, and that the Jersey Devil is particularly cool because it ties into the socioeconomic layers rather than just cryptids. Like, there's so much overlaying politics involved that people don't even know about, and you're like, why the hell is Benjamin Franklin involved with the Jersey Devil? Like, what?
I did get to talk about the Jersey Devil, though. We both just said he's not Appalachian, but I did a community event a couple weeks ago, and I themed them all, and this one was Appalachia Obscura, and so I did more of the less what I would call cryptids and more what I would say like folkloric creatures, and they were the more fantastical, ridiculous. And I did Bat Boy, which is maybe my favorite Appalachian. He's on my phone.
Oh my god.
He's my favorite. And Bat Boy, part of the inspiration behind Bat Boy was the Jersey Devil. And so I got to talk about him, even though he's not Appalachian. Like, there was a tie-in.
That's so fun. Oh my gosh.
That is, I know Mothman gets a lot of attention as kind of like the Appalachian cryptid. Do you think that there's another one that deserves much more attention or recognition?
Okay, well, if you want to know my thoughts on Mothman, Fate Magazine is publishing another one of my articles in their upcoming one, and I think that it's coming out in September, and it's a Mothman one. And it's a feature, so it's like you'll get all the Mothman details and all what I consider to be proof and lack of. And I'm a little nervous about it because I live in Mothman territory. Like, Mothman's the closest cryptid down the road, and I did a community event in I did the bridge, the silver bridge that connected Gallipolis to Point Pleasant. In Gallipolis, I did a community event there like a month ago, and like 100 people came, and that's what they wanted to talk about with Mothman. Is I came prepared, and I asked them before we going into it, how many people think Mothman was real, and how many people think he was this harbinger of doom or this thing that is, and they all put their hands up. And then I gave my spiel and was like, here's why I think it's a bird. And at the end, they were not happy with it. I did convince 6 people, though. By the end, I was like, okay, now how many people think it might be a bird? And 6 people put their hands up.
I'm surprised you didn't be tarred and feathered. Oh my gosh.
But yeah, Mothman does get a lot of attention here. The river monster is one of my favorite stories. I think the Mud Mermaid story is really cool. I don't know what I think the Mud Mermaid is, or I think it might just be more like folklore, but it's a really fun story. I love anything that lives in the water. I think it's so much more interesting than land. As far as what I think probably that's my answer, is the river monsters don't get enough recognition because I think they were real. But everything down here is either Mothman or Bigfoot most of the time. I think I know Bearzilla. Bearzilla doesn't get enough.
Bearzilla. Wow.
Bearzilla is one of the Appalachia Obscura, and he's insane looking. Wow. You'll also hear it called Bearilla. Like, they're interchangeable, but they're Bearzilla and Bearilla, and it's like a gorilla bear monster mashup thing.
Oh my goodness!
But I love it. He's ridiculous.
Truck kind of deal.
Now I'm gonna have to go take a deep dive.
Everything about this.
Somebody's gonna see my search and be like,
"This is gonna be my personality for the next 2 months straight, at least."
Absolutely, Bearzilla.
Yeah. Cocaine Bearzilla.
Oh God.
I kind of like the sheep squatch too.
Oh right.
The sheep squatch.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my god. I heard one I hadn't heard of before, but the Wampus cat.
Oh yeah, that's a big deal.
Yeah, I didn't know that it was like considered in here in Tennessee, like in the eastern Tennessee in the Appalachia there in the folklore. So I was like, what is this Wampus Cat
The
thing?
Wampus Cat
An ape,
depends on where you hear the story, that the details, but because like a lot of depictions, when you see like pictures of people have drawn, it has 6 legs. But in all the research that I have done, I have found nothing. I don't know where that 6-leg thing came from, unless it's like a regional thing, like maybe some area. Like I don't know, but I don't know where that 6-leg thing came from. The story of the Wampus Cat that I've always heard and been told, and like even when I was, because I wrote just like, when did it come out? Just in the last month or two, a Fate magazine, the last one, I have an article in it on the Wampus Cat that they, and it's like black like a panther, but it has these like stripy white spots on its back, and it has a 9-foot long tail that's strong like a kangaroo, so it can use it the way a kangaroo can use a tail, and it has front feet that are like a badger, and back feet that are cloven like a deer. So it also
somewhere where it said like also associated with like a female, like a woman that turns into a cat.
There is a Cherokee legend. I think it's called the Ewa. I'm not sure if that's how you pronounce it. I don't think that sometimes people will link them. Personally, I don't think they're the same story, because in the Cherokee story, she's like a protector, and in the Wampus Cat story, it's a predator. So I don't think that the behavior sounds like that makes them the same. But who knows, because, who knows where these stories actually came from. I think that if the Wampus Cat was real, it's like I often talk about some of these stories, these folklore creatures or these cryptids, it becomes like a rural game of telephone. And so they will, every time they tell it, a feature might get a little bit more exaggerated or a little bit more fantastical. Mm-hmm. So if the Wampus Cat was real, I think it was probably a North American cougar or a mountain lion. And technically, scientifically, those are now extinct. However, I have several photos and videos on my phone that people have given me from their trail cameras that show they very much are not.
Yeah.
But back then, they would have been larger. And I think maybe these animals were supposed to be gone. They were supposed to have died out. Immigrants came over from other parts of the world, and maybe they just came across this. However, they're not black. They don't have 9-foot long tail. Like some of the details really don't match up for that to be true. So then I lean towards a lot of folklore stories were created at a time when our ancestors didn't know better. And they were trying to find ways to explain the natural world and what was happening around them in ways they could understand. And they also wanted to protect their kids from natural predators. And in the wintertime, back in the olden times, everybody here were farmers. And then in the wintertime, when there were less chores to be done, less people outside, and less food in the woods, the bobcats and the mountain lions were coming in closer, because there were less people out to keep them away, and they were eating livestock and maybe small children who were out, too close to the woods when it got dark. And I think that there were stories that they created to explain what just mutilated their sheep or ate their horse, and to warn their kids to stay out of the woods, to don't go in the woods in the dark. It's a natural human thing to be scared of the dark, because especially in a place that's rural, like we know even now, there are still predators out there that can hurt us.
Yeah.
And so I think it's a natural way for us to explain to our kids, it's the boogeyman. It's don't go in the woods at dark, because there's something in there that will get you. Maybe it's a monster, maybe it's a big cat, but you may not, or maybe you get lost in the very thick, dense woods and you freeze to death. Like, there's just so many things out there that can hurt you. Stay out of the woods when it gets dark. Make sure you put the livestock up, because predators will come and get them. So the Wampus Cat's like a booger tale. It's kind of an old time tale, and it kind of died out, and a lot of people don't know about it anymore, because I think as farming became less and less prevalent and industry moved in, and factories and plants became the dominant careers, farming became less and less. So these stories were just not getting told anymore because the predators weren't coming in anymore, because we didn't live in farms. We lived in town. We had neighbors right up against us and concrete, and we were away from the tree lines. But I do like the Wampus Cat story. I think it's interesting. I love that the Wampus Cat has kind of silently crept out into the rest of the world. Like, there's high schools with the Wampus Cat mascot. There's like farm league baseball teams, like the semi-pro baseball teams. There's like a beer, like an IPA. It's even in the American, the Harry Potter world, like the American School of Witchcraft and Wizardry. Like, one of the house mascots is a Wampus Cat. So I thought that was pretty cool.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's kind of cool how they just picked from kind of American folklore.
Yeah.
That works.
Yeah, I love that. It's kind of ironic that it like pulled into this children's entertainment when it was originally possibly created to scare children.
Right.
Right. That's
so
so funny. The other thing that I came across that was really intriguing was the moon-eyed people.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know if you've heard that legend at all. Did you read? Oh. Yeah, for a second. Could you hear what I said about?
Yeah, I heard what you started to say. You said another thing you came across.
Oh, it was the moon-eyed people.
Yeah.
Have you
heard
the
moon-eyed people
them?
is on my list. Oh yeah, the moon-eyed people is on my list to like deep dive and research. I haven't deep dived yet. I only like know basically the basics, but like there's the moon-eyed people, there's theories about a lot of people think extraterrestrials. There's a theory that like it could be Vikings, like early Viking population that had been here, and for whatever reason, like maybe they just found caves, or they just didn't know how to build on I don't know why they would have chosen that, but they lived underground and like just, adapted. And there is no like official documentation that Vikings would have been here. However, who was keeping track in like the 1400s? Right. I do have a really interesting book that's called The History of the Colonization of the World, or of the United States, I think that's what it's called. The History of the Colonization of the United States. And it's so it's a copy, like if you look at it, it's a photocopy. It's not like a reprint of a textbook from 1837. And I thought it was super interesting because I was like, I want to know, less than 100 years after the country was founded, what were we teaching? What were we talking about as how the history of the country? And so it's really interesting. There's a lot in it that has been left out of modern history, probably just because it's, we're 250 years later, like a lot's happened. They have to cram so much into 12 years of school. And so they leave out a lot of details about like, like Christopher Columbus, he wasn't even like the fifth person that had been here. Like there were so many people here before him. And like they do talk about in this book, they do talk about people have been here. They don't talk about moon-eyed people, but they do talk about people like different. They talk about how the Vikings had been to America long before everybody else.
Oh yeah.
And so it is possible that they were here. It doesn't specifically say they were in Appalachia, but they do talk about the Vikings had been to America. And so it's possible that they had been here. I've never been to the area where they say they still have the like stone, like the structure. I've never seen it in person, but I would love to.
Right.
And I'm not sure what I think they were, but it's on my list to eventually like do deep dive research. The thing that I'm fascinated right now by that, because it's really, there's not a lot out there on it, it's hard to do research on it, is the Egypt-Tucky theory. Have you heard that?
No. What is that?
You can go down a rabbit hole on TikTok about it, but that's like, it's really difficult to like put real facts together. So there's a theory that in the old texts discussing Egypt and like the underworld and all that, that Egypt, the old Egypt, was actually in Kentucky, not in the Middle East. And that like the cave system that they're talking about, is Mammoth Caves, and like because there's a river, you know, that runs through the caves, and like they're comparing that to the river Styx, and like there's a lot in Kentucky that mimics the ancient like texts about ancient Egypt and the underworld. And so like there's a theory that the underworld, like the gates to the underworld, are under Kentucky, and that old Egypt is actually in Kentucky.
Wow.
And it's fascinating.
Egypt is its own rabbit hole in its entire.
Oh yes,
like it's one of my favorite topics ever.
Yes,
but that instantly reminds me of the theories that there's ancient Egyptian hieroglyphics in the bottom of the Grand Canyon.
yeah. I just heard that story not that long ago. That's so fascinating.
I want to get in. They won't let the public down there. I'm like,
no,
in there.
Well, supposedly it exists. There's no official documentation that it exists.
Mm-hmm.
There's only the original, you know, person who discovered it, who published those newspapers that are like saying, "Hey, I found this, but now I can't get back to it, and they won't let me in where I think it is." So interesting.
That and has anyone here heard the story that Scotland was named after? I believe it was King Tut's sister Skoda.
I did hear that.
Yeah,
I did hear that. What? Because they were saying that she was like at one point over there, that like she founded Scotland.
Yeah, she's like the original princess of Scotland from ancient Egypt. I'm like, what? But then you go through the biblical stories too, and when after the crucifixion, all of the disciples spread out across the world. So you look into older stories, the mythology that's like never ever talked about where the disciples went, and these people from Israel are now in France, and now they're in everywhere. It's crazy. Like the migration patterns of people in itself is a fascinating study that no one talks about nearly enough. But ancient Egypt and Kentucky, why not? That would make me like it a whole lot more over there.
I love it. I'm on board with it. I just think it's so interesting.
So
I know. Now I want to go visit some of the caves and stuff. That's not that far from.
Oh, it's so cool. Have you been to Mammoth Caves?
I haven't. I really want to go.
It's so cool. It's so cool. There's so much to do down there. It is so fun.
I hear that they say they're haunted as well, of course.
There's a whole thing about it. Yeah, because of there's all kinds of stories really about it. But like they're between using them as like during wartime, like using them as like hospitals, and then like they were using them for bootlegging, and I mean they've done, and then just people have just died in them by just exploring and stuff. So like there's tons of stories like that.
I'm like, now I'm going.
Absolutely.
Must deep dive.
I know, really.
There's all kinds of stuff about Mammoth Caves. You can go down those rabbit holes forever.
I know. Before we're almost. Oh my gosh, time has flown.
I know.
I do have a closing question, and then the rapid fire. I would love to.
Okay.
So.
I'm always on the other end of the rapid fires. I never get to do the rapid fires.
Yeah. You will tonight. If someone told you they saw something strange in the Appalachian woods tonight, what would you tell them to do, and what would you tell them not to do?
Well, I would need them to tell me everything first. I would need to like document everything. I would tell them to do or not to do. I would definitely say don't go out there in the dark, because it is so dark. Like just outside my window right now, you can't see anything. It's so dark. And for that alone, it's super dangerous. To do, I would say try to document every single thing that you could. What was happening before you saw it? Did you smell it? Did you notice anything? Did you hear anything? Did you smell anything? And like also document before you forget it. Document like what was the weather like today? What was the cycle of the moon? What was like, because then you can look for patterns and try to recreate it, or try to see if there's something that brought it out or encouraged it to come out. Like, did you have food on you? What were you, were you wearing perfume? Like, I would just try to document everything you can while it's fresh in your mind.
That makes a lot of sense. You come here, I'm like expert eyewitness.
Yeah. Well, and because memories are fallible. So, the next time you try to tell this story, you might have forgotten what the exact temperature was, or you might have forgotten that it rained earlier that day, and those details may matter, and then you don't repeat them, or the story might change a little bit because your adrenaline is going from this big thing that the details kind of change.
Yeah, that makes sense. So with the rapid fire, here we go. Okay. Bigfoot or Mothman?
Ugh. I don't know. Neither. I wrote my master's thesis on the belief and lore of the Appalachian Sasquatch, so honestly, I'm just Bigfooted out. Normally, I would say Bigfoot.
Okay. Daylight investigation or midnight investigation?
Probably midnight. I feel like you're going to get more out of that. I think they're smart enough to avoid us during the day.
Most overrated cryptid?
Mothman.
We're like, no.
I love it. I love the cryptid story of Mothman. I love the way that they've embraced him. I love the fun part of Mothman, but from a biological cryptid standpoint, he's not it for me. He's a bird.
Cryptid you'd actually want to encounter?
Loch Ness Monster, for sure.
Nice. And if you're alone in the Appalachian woods and you hear something behind you, investigate it or run?
Neither. You walk slowly away. You do not run, because even if it's a bobcat, running is bad. So you honestly, I'm a freezer. Like that fight, flight, or free. I'm a freezer. So like I would get eaten, whatever it was. But
nice knowing you, Lacey.
Yeah, no, I would fortunately be picked off. And I also am avoidant with that kind of stuff. Like if I can't see it, it's not there. Like if I don't see it, it can't see me. So I don't know that I would even turn around. I think I would just like quietly ease myself out, try to get out before anything picked me off.
Yeah. Well, that's the only ones I have. Does anybody else got questions before we end?
I don't think so, but before we do end, you guys all remember AG, who is our Hearthside author. He is hosting a special VIP book launch 3 days before the actual book launch for What Big Lies You Have. There are still seats available. There are still the VIP boxes. And our episode with AG will air on Spotify next week with Paranormal UK Radio. And we also have a family birthday. But before we are together again, Rachel will be celebrating. So we are celebrating with you, our dear sister. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
Lacey, as ever, it is wonderful to have another member of the Cryptid Women's Society, of which we are all members here with us. So please come back again. When you've done your deep dive into the Moon-Eyed people, come back, because I want to know. Yeah, we need to see.
Yeah, we need more
stuff.
Yeah,
we need more dirt. Tell people where they can find you before we.
Well, I'm on all the things. Let's see, on Facebook, Lacey Williams, certified cryptozoology investigator. On Instagram, it's laceywilliams.cci. Also, I just I'm launching a magazine. It should be out. Should be ready to go to print, honestly, any day now. It's called Greetings from Appalachia: Stories of Mountain, Backroads, Byways, and Beyond. And it's a little bit of, it's folklore, it's paranormal lore, it's weird forgotten history, it's just quirky things that make Appalachian unique. And we feature a lot of like local artists and photographers and writers, and like it's a lot of voices from the region, and I'm really thrilled about it. It's on Greetings from Appalachia magazine on Facebook and Greetings from Appalachia mag on Instagram. and there's link trees. You can subscribe to like the newsletter to find out when they come out. It's quarterly, and the first fall edition should be out literally any day. So I'm very excited about
So
that.
exciting. Yay.
Yeah.
So you guys definitely check Lacey out. If you have not subscribed here on YouTube, do that right now. Do it right now. It's free.
What are you waiting for?
Yeah.
It's a birthday gift. For my birthday.
Yeah. There you go. You want to get Rachel something, subscribe. Make sure you do hit the notifications. We know we're live every Thursday at 9 Eastern, but sometimes the days get away from us. So if you have your notifications on, you don't have to remember. It'll just tell you, hey, the girls are on. Join them. So Lacey, thank you again. If you guys are interested, please check out the Cryptid Women's Society International, all of their set as well.
If you're here, if you're watching, you're interested. And you don't even have to be a woman anymore. We have an ally tier. You can come and be in our Patreon at the ally level. You don't even have to be a woman anymore.
There you go. There you go. But you guys, thank you so much for hanging out with us one more Thursday. We will see you all next week. If you have any questions, any follow-ups, please get into the comments here or on any of our socials. Give us topics that you want us to cover on the show, because we love all things spooky, paranormal, sideways, left of center. So we'll see you guys next week. My sisters, I love you.
Night, everyone. Love you.
Bye.
Bye.